Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Braje Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braje Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So today we're reading from Transcendental Diaries by Hari Sauri Prabhu, and we're on chapter 4 in Honolulu. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So we're reading on 10th May 1976, and it was Ekadashi. So Hari Sauri Prabhu writes, Ekadashi. Before going out for his morning walk, Prabhupada summoned me with the buzzer. Going into his room, I offered my obeisances and knelt before him, eager to execute his bidding. He asked if we had the Sanskrit edition of the Srimad Bhagavatam 8th canto with us. He said he would finish the 7th by the evening. This was very heartening to hear. Last month in Vrindavan, we had discussed the travel itinerary with Rameshwar Swami. He had put in a strong plea to Prabhupada on behalf of the BBT to take advantage of the remoteness of Hawaii for this purpose, to increase his writing. Prabhupada has often said that if the devotees publish at the speed he writes, he would be more and more encouraged. So when Rameshwar enthusiastically informed him that the BBT had almost caught up with him, he agreed to spend a month here, with the hope it would increase his output. Now to hear that he was making good progress was at once fulfilling and inspiring. I was excited and expressed my pleasure at this welcome news. Prabhupada remained modest and sober. With a slight smile and an unassuming tip of his head, he told me, "Oh, I can finish it very quickly, but I have to present it for your understanding. It requires deep thought, very carefully, for the common man." So when I read this part, it was very encouraging to me because it showed me how Srila Prabhupada spent so much care and attention in his Bhaktivedanta purports to the Srimad Bhagavatam. He didn't just translate it and leave it at that. He explained it so that the common man could understand. And for me, it's a reminder also that when I'm explaining Krishna consciousness to someone else, I should always try to explain it in a way that they will understand. Srila Prabhupada came down to the level of the common man to be able to relate and explain it to them. So as a preacher, that's our duty also to carry that forward and keep it relatable to the time, place, and circumstance, the people that we're faced with every day. And another point from this little excerpt that I noticed was how Prabhupada used to write he used to dictate so much that the BBT could never keep up with him. The book production was much slower than Prabhupada could translate and comment on. So to hear that now the BBT had almost caught up to him, that was amazing news. And yesterday, we were watching the video that Yadubar Prabhu and Vishaka Mataji made of the book production from back in the day. And such an inspiring video for anybody that works with books, or even if you don't, just to think of what it was like back in the day. It's actually inconceivable. If I didn't see this video, I'd never believe it. But the many steps they had, and the fact that technology was not as developed as it is now. So it was inspiring to see how much effort they put in just to get this transcendental literature, the Srimad Bhagavatam, out to the whole world. I just summarize a bit of what I saw in the video, but I can't even understand it fully. So Srila Prabhupada would dictate on his dictaphone, and from there, the tapes would be sent to the transcribing place, the devotees who were doing the transcribing. So they would listen to the tape and just type out on a typewriter everything. And now typewriters don't have a backspace. It's not like a computer that we deal with. So they had to really, pay careful attention and type. And once that was done, then it would go to the Sanskrit department, where the Sanskrit editor would manually insert the diacritics on the words to make sure that the pronunciation and meaning was according to the actual Sanskrit word. So this was like a very manual process. And then once that was done, then it would go for English editing in terms of like punctuation, because when you're hearing and typing, it's not that all the punctuation is going to be 100% correct. So then it would go to English editing, where they would basically read the transcript and recite where the punctuation marks should be, where the capital letters and all of that should be. Then that recording is listened to and typed out again. So the English is then retyped basically. And then there was this step called composing, where the diacritics, like the letters were diacritics mapped to some code on a device, kind of like a typewriter device. And so while they were typing it out in this, the diacritic marks were in some other code that represented the diacritic letter. So they typed it out according to that code on a magnetic tape, and then that was put into a computer of some sort, and then that was interpreted as the page that we see with the Sanskrit and the English. And then they manually laid it out, like with a scissor and paper. They were cutting the pieces and laying it out on paper, all the printed sheets. And then once those were laid out, then it would be photographed in a way, and they'd be like a negative copy, so any errors could be removed, and then it was printed. And now simultaneously, the art department were painting all the artwork, and they would interact with Srila Prabhupada to get him to approve their artwork. And then once the art was complete, and paintings used to take like up to a few weeks because it is art. And it had to be according to the scripture, like the way Srila Prabhupada described the different personalities and what they look like. So they'd print the picture, they'd paint the picture, and then it would be photographed with this high quality machine to get it like to scale to be on the page. So all of this whole process, I can't even imagine how long it took. And they did all of Prabhupada's books like that. I didn't even explain it properly, I know, because I don't even understand it fully. But every book, the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, all the books were made in this very long and it seems difficult way. But there was a whole group of very enthusiastic devotees just working at it, and very happily engaging in the service. And in the video, the BBT company, it looked like a company, it looked like a corporate, when you'd go into work, there's little offices and there's signs on the door like product manager and all of that. And it was nice to see the devotees engaging that energy so nicely in such an organized way to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books. Like a few days ago, Keshav Swami posted a quote that said something along the lines of that every spiritual activity requires the same amount of endeavor as material activity. Like that's how we should see it. And we can really see in this that they were so dedicated. So to hear that now, despite this really long process, they were almost caught up to Srila Prabhupada's recitations was actually amazing. It just shows how much time and energy they put into the book production. Prabhupada's class emphasized his presentation of Srimad Bhagavatam as his most important work. It is not a mere product of his scholarship, but a deeply realized penetration into the very essence of life, the problems that haunt all men, and solutions with which to exorcise them. The verse continued with an inquiry from Parikshit Maharaj as to the value of prayaschita, or atonement for sinful acts. A person knows sinful acts are injurious to him because he sees criminals are punished by the government and rebuked by people in general. He also hears from scripture that one is thrown into hellish conditions in the next life. And yet, still a person commits sinful acts again and again. Therefore, Parikshit asked Sukadev Goswami what the value of such atonement is. After condemning the so-called scientists and philosophers who think life is merely chemicals, and after explaining the Bhagavatam's analysis that life is spirit, Prabhupada pointed out to his attentive audience that Parikshit Maharaj, the emperor of the world, submissively inquired from Sukadev Goswami, because, Prabhupada said, he is the disciple and son of Vyasadeva. So this is parampara. One should learn from the right person. That is perfect knowledge. We are sticking to the Krishna consciousness movement to receive perfect knowledge. If we change, if we become so rascal that what has been spoken in Vedic literature, there is beyond something, then we are rascal. There is no beyond. This is perfect knowledge. He explained very clearly the proper way to receive this perfect knowledge. Our process of Vedic knowledge is how to surrender. Not that I hear and reject it. That is not the way. That is another rascaldom. Surrender means you first of all be convinced that the person whom I am going to accept as guru, whether he actually can give me the knowledge, that is wanted. Therefore, before taking guru, the system is, for 1 year, the prospective disciple should hear from the person and then decide. And similarly, the guru also should see a person is actually submissive or not. That is Vaishnav injunction, Hari Bhakti Vilas. Prabhupada defines submission, intelligently serve. It is not that he is checking the guru, how my guru is learned. No, the submission is there. But when the guru says something he may not understand, that concession is there. Pariprashnena, you inquire. Therefore, he said, Parikshit's question was very intelligent because as a king, he knew practically that criminals repeatedly commit crimes even after going to jail. And medical patients repeatedly become diseased even after undergoing troublesome and painful treatment. because neither can stop their bad habits. This is student. Just see how intelligently the question is put. Shukadev Goswami said that for any sinful action, atonement, one has to atone. So he immediately catches this word, this intelligent disciple, that what is the value of this atonement if he cannot correct himself to commit the sinful activity? Then what is the value of such atonement? This is very nice question. We shall discuss tomorrow. So this little excerpt here speaks about the guru-disciple relationship and how it's based on submission, inquiry, and service. In Bhagavad Gita it is said, Tat vidhi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshana. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a bona fide spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. He will reveal the truth. He will reveal knowledge to you because he has seen the truth. So here he is describing how we shouldn't, Srila Prabhupada is describing how we shouldn't doubt the Guru unnecessarily. We shouldn't be challenging. We shouldn't have a challenging mood. We should always have a mood of submission. But we should also inquire when we don't agree with something, we don't understand something, to penetrate deeper into the subject matter. We shouldn't blindly accept it. So both sides are required. It's to be submissive and not be challenging, but also not to blindly accept anything without inquiring about what it actually means. And the process that unlocks the blessings from the spiritual master is service. It's not a mechanical process. And it's not a process based on an external relationship. It's very much based on this principle of submission, inquiry, and service. And the verses they were speaking about in Srimad Bhagavatam at this time were 6, 1, 9, and then 10 and 11 in the next few paragraphs. So this is the story of Ajamil. And well, it's the beginning of the 6th canto. And basically speaking about why people continue to commit sinful activities even after atoning. So Maharaj Parikshit is doubting this process of atonement, like why should we do it if it doesn't actually change anything? And Prabhupada is calling out what an intelligent disciple he is, that he caught on. He also listened very attentively to Sukadev Goswami, and he caught this point. Why is this happening? Gaur Sundar Das came in the afternoon in response to Prabhupada's request. He was polite and well-groomed and stayed about half an hour. Saying very little, he listened quietly to all Srila Prabhupada told him. Dealing very kindly but frankly with him, as a loving father does an errant son, Prabhupada indirectly addressed Gaur Sundar's establishment of his own ashram. He told him that he did not mind if he wants to become a guru. In fact, he said, that is required, for he wants all his disciples to become gurus. But he stressed the standard should not be changed. Do not manufacture your own process, he told Gaur Sundar. When Gaur Sundar took his leave, Prabhupada commented that although Gaur Sundar has sat and politely smiled or nodded his head as if in agreement, whether he actually understood what he told him was another thing. Sukadev cooked some special potato patties today as an extra Ekadashi preparation. Another devotee, Satyadev Prabhu, gave him the recipe: boiled potatoes mixed with Ekadashi flour and cooked peanuts are made into small cakes, which are then deep fried in ghee. They delighted Srila Prabhupada. He asked Sukadev with boyish innocence, "Oh, you have made these?" When he tasted them, he smiled brightly. "Oh, very good." During the past couple of days, Srila Prabhupada has complained he has not slept well because of feeling ill with dizziness and passing too much urine. Pradyumna gave him some Brahmi oil which he brought from India. It is a green oil students often use to cool their brain so they can concentrate on their studies. Prabhupada had me massage his head and temples with it. It gave him some relief, so he dictated a letter to Giriraj in Bombay, asking him to send another 3 bottles. In his usual thorough way, he gave detailed advice on how to pack them to avoid breakage. To stop leakage, you can melt some paraffin and seal the bottles with the caps on by dipping the side of the bottle with the cap into the liquid paraffin. And when it is pulled out and cooled, it will seal the space around the cap. Then also, there should be some soft packing around the bottles so that they do not break in transit. Send it registered and special delivery so that it is handled very fragilely. Sri Sri Radha Radhanath ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Sri Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. So this excerpt just shows how Srila Prabhupada was expert at everything. He knew all spiritual knowledge and all material knowledge. He taught his disciples how to cook, how to do everything, how to package oils so that there was no breakage, and how to just any ordinary material activity. He knew how to do it expertly also. At 9:15 p.m., he called for me. Expecting him to be ready to take rest and his massage, I was surprised to find him at his desk with his spectacles on, his Bhagavatam open and his dictaphone in his hand. He told me that he would not take his massage. Rather, he said he would finish translating the 7th canto. I was surprised but elated. It is the first time since I have been with him, over 5 months now, that he has missed his evening rest. He worked all through the night, and after he went for his early morning ablutions, I checked his dictaphone and saw that he had notched 320 digits on the counter. Normally he does 50 or less. He was able to get 25 verses of the 8th canto done. He is mercifully fulfilling our hope that by spending extra time here in Hawaii, away from management problems and constant streams of visitors, he would be able to concentrate on the essence of his preaching work. Everyone is growing very heartened to see how much extra writing he is doing since his arrival in Honolulu. So this is amazing. Srila Prabhupada translating the Srimad Bhagavatam all throughout the night, not even resting. And it puts extra emphasis on how important the Srimad Bhagavatam is to him. And all his books actually, that he would painstakingly stay up all night to translate, to explain. He took very personal responsibility in making sure all the artwork was in alignment and making sure everything was done very nicely, and also challenging his disciples to speed up their book production, as we heard from the Chaitanya Charitamrita marathon that he had, where he expected them to produce the 17 volumes in just 2 months. And before that, they were taking 2 months to produce 1 book. And then they thought they'll speed it up by taking 1 month to produce 1 book. But Srila Prabhupada was not impressed by that. He said, I want everything, all 17 volumes in this 2 months. So the fact that he challenged them meant that he knew the urgency of getting all this knowledge out. And the fact that he was staying up all night to translate the books also shows how important it was to him. Despite all his other commitments and responsibilities of managing, of taking care of his disciples, of having visitors and having people approach him, he also dedicated his time to his translation work. It also inspires us as this generation to carry out the work of distributing his books because of the effort he put into it. So book distribution, and we will see in the upcoming paragraphs just how important it was to Srila Prabhupada. So now we're on May 11th, 1976. As we drove out the temple gates and down to the Pali freeway to go for the morning walk, Prabhupada several times remarked what a foolish civilization we live in. Observing the cars whizzing up and down the highway, he referred to it as a neck-break civilization. He said that dogs run on 4 legs, and we are running on 4 wheels, thinking this advancement. But the business is the same. Today he walked down Waikiki Beach instead of along the rather barren, uninteresting pathways of Magic Island. He looked up at the tall palms, all carefully trimmed so that only a few scrawny leaves remained at the very top of their thin, slender trunks. Rather than add to the beauty of the surroundings, they looked emasculated, and like many things in this tourist city, more than a little artificial. A devotee explained that they were cut deliberately so that no coconuts could grow. Prabhupada shook his head at the foolishness of the karmes. Fearful that someone might be injured by falling coconuts, they spoil the tree's natural beauty by paring them so severely that they can bear no fruit. He quoted a Bengali saying, "Coconuts have eyes." This means there has never been an incident of anyone being killed or injured from a falling coconut, even when living in the midst of an entire grove. Prabhupada enjoys drinking a glass of fresh dab juice every afternoon after awakening from his post-lunch nap. He often comments how foolish the karmes are and how they have spoiled everything. Although Krishna supplies everything, we need to live nicely. They create so many unwanted requirements. So every moment with Srila Prabhupada was a teachable moment. His morning walks were the most instructive for everyone who went on them because he would very practically comment on our modern civilization and how to improve it. And this is a simple example of watching how nature's beauty is being limited, nature's opulence is being limited by materialistic civilization. A simple thing like removing the ability of coconuts to grow. That's natural, and because they're afraid of coconuts falling, they've decided to ruin the tree. And then it ruins everything. And that this is modern civilization, that we try to fix things and make it the way we want it to be. Not what Krishna wanted, which is nature's arrangement. And instead of making things better, we make things so much worse. When Srila Prabhupada said that we are running on 4 wheels just as dogs are running on 4 legs, it's so true because in one of the lectures recently, Keshav Swami was saying how previously people would walk to get to, or like ride a bicycle or something to get to a destination, and they'd get their exercise in, plus they would actually get to a place. And these days, people sit at a desk all day, they drive to work, drive back, and then they pay to go to a gym, to do exercise and ride on a machine and go absolutely nowhere. So he said that if people from the previous generations saw what we were doing, they think we're crazy, because they used to actually accomplish something by they used to go somewhere and get their exercise in, and here we are not going anywhere, and we're paying to not go anywhere just to get exercise in. So Srila Prabhupada made all these things very apparent about modern civilization and how the way Krishna arranged everything is actually perfect. When Srila Prabhupada gives class, he doesn't give the full verse translation. He simply reads the Sanskrit verse, has the devotees repeat it, and then launches directly into his explanation. He focused this morning on the phrase Kunjara Sochavat, which means to bathe like an elephant. Prabhupada explained that an elephant takes a very elaborate bath, but then, on returning to the shore, covers itself with dust again. Similarly, a criminal is repentant in jail and vows not to commit any more sinful acts. But as soon as he gets out, he associates with other criminals and again becomes implicated. He said Parikshit Maharaj compared the process of atonement to such bathing. Therefore, he said that Parikshit Maharaj very intelligently passed the test set by his spiritual master. So as the student is intelligent, the spiritual master is also gradually giving him more intelligence. First of all, for an ordinary man, the atonement, punishment, he proposed. But when the intelligent student, Maharaj Parikshit, said, "It is useless," then next proposal is given. He quoted the next verse and explained, if somebody is kept into darkness, then there is no need of this punishment or prayashita. So he proposes that the man in darkness should be educated. Vimarshanam means cultivation of knowledge, culture. So where is that culture? There is no culture. We propose that the beginning of culture is no illicit sex. To establish his proposal, he pointed out that there is no marriage in dog society. In human society, there is. But, Prabhupada observed, nowadays marriage is being avoided, just as it was predicted to happen 5,000 years ago in the Bhagavatam. Although people now think themselves to be very advanced in knowledge, he said they are actually full number one. Ask any so-called scholar that, what is the aim of life? He cannot say. The aim of life is the same like the dog. Eat, drink, be merry, and enjoy, and die. That's all. So where is the education? If one has no sense to understand Krishna consciousness or God consciousness, he is no better than the dog or cat. No credit. According to Vedic civilization, anyone who is thinking, I am this body, and doing accordingly for the bodily pleasure, he is working so hard. So that is not knowledge. Here it is suggested that prayashitam vimarshanam. If you want to be saved from the tribulation offered by the material nature, then you have to be very thoughtful, thinking what is the actual position. That is the beginning of Vedanta Sutra, that you inquire about Brahman, the absolute truth. This human form of life, don't spoil it like cats and dogs, eating, sleeping, mating, and dancing. No. So same dancing, same eating can be utilized when it is in Krishna consciousness. Simply by dancing and chanting and taking prasadam, you'll be learned scholar. So Srila Prabhupada continues explaining the verses about atonement and why atonement is actually useless if there's no change of heart. So he said rather than making someone atone for their sinful activity, we should educate them in spiritual culture, in Vaishnava behavior. And in the process of Krishna consciousness, in the chanting, dancing, feasting, then actually the heart becomes purified and the desire to commit sinful activities will diminish and eventually be destroyed. So instead of committing sinful activities and then performing some atonement and keeping that and then continuing to commit sinful activities and atoning and the cycle continuing, to really uproot those sinful desires within the heart, we need to take up the process of Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada has received a very encouraging report for the newly formed Indian Library Party. The 4-man team, led by Library Party veteran Mahabuddhi Das with Amoga Das, Bhugarbha Das, and Mahavishnu Das, has taken 38 standing orders of both the Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita after only 2 weeks of operation. They reported successes in Bombay, Pune, Baroda, and Ahmedabad, persuading many important scholars and Sanskritists to write reviews. The party plans to move to New Delhi and then join Yashodanandan Swami in the south. Prabhupada is so pleased with these devotees that he wrote to Gopal Krishna and Tejas Prabhus and ordered them to make sure that a sufficient stock of books is available at all times, at least 300 of each and every volume, so that all the orders can be filled immediately. Ever thoughtful of his chief mission, he also replied to a letter from Sri Govinda Das in Chicago, who had written asking for a new engagement after being replaced as the temple president. Prabhupada suggested he contact Tamal Krishna Maharaj. See if you can work together with him to distribute our literature all over the world. He is now formulating plans how to increase our distribution everywhere, and perhaps you can be instrumental. So here it's further emphasized how important book distribution was to Srila Prabhupada. He was so encouraged when this order of the Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita came, that he personally wrote letters of appreciation to his disciples. And whenever someone didn't have a service, he just suggests book distribution, which is something very practical for all of us actually, because sometimes people may feel like, oh, I don't have a service, so I'd like to be engaged in service. And we can see what Srila Prabhupada first emphasized here when there was basically someone who didn't have a service anymore. He said book distribution, get involved with book distribution and see if you can expand it throughout the world. So his constant meditation was on getting his books out so that society can be uplifted. And it wasn't just about the sales of the books. It wasn't just about, selling a book and getting a book score or getting, the Lakshmi points for the further book production. It was about making devotees. That was the point of his book distribution. It wasn't just numbers. It was people. It was bringing people in closer to Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada's desire is very pure. It's not just, let's get more people to help us in our mission or to fulfill our projects. It was that he wanted every single person to become connected with Krishna, to get that eternal benefit, to discover their eternal relationship with Krishna and go back to Godhead at the end of this life. Srila Prabhupada gave us this blessing and this opportunity in this life. And he wanted to give the whole world that opportunity to go back to Godhead by the process of Krishna consciousness and devotional service. So his selflessness is beyond measure. We can't explain it because in our lives, we may have so many other motivations for even doing a pure service. Like book distribution, we may think, well, we need to raise money also, so let's get some books out. Or we need to, we need to get lots of devotees to fill up our projects so that they can be engaged in service and help our preaching projects, which is wonderful. But it's like, are we really thinking of them and their benefit fully, as our main focus? So Srila Prabhupada, for him, that was his only focus. Everything else fit around that prime focus. I was watching a seminar by Keshav Swami the other day called Devotion in the Modes. And it's a 4-part seminar. Incredible seminar of how to really refine our desires and our devotional service that's currently in the modes of material nature. So, And Srila Prabhupada is the perfect example of that. His devotion was pure, not in the modes of material nature, like the way we're practicing. So this part really reminded me of that seminar that I watched. While some of the devotees were talking with Srila Prabhupada in his room, one of them noticed a bug on the papers on the desk. Thinking that it would inconvenience Prabhupada, the boy decided to remove it. But he wasn't sure what to do with it, so he asked Prabhupada. Not put out in the slightest, Prabhupada motioned with his head. Take him to the window and put him out. Then turning to us, he said, this is Krishna consciousness. A Vaishnava is kind to every living entity, not the squishing business. So this is another teachable moment for everyone, because Srila Prabhupada wasn't just preaching Krishna consciousness, he was living it. Krishna consciousness means Vaishnava is kind to everyone, and he was practically showing it by being kind to even the bugs, even the living entities we really want to get rid of. And I know for me this is a big challenge with the mosquitoes. It's very, very difficult. But yeah, my brother will capture them in a little container and take them outside and be very kind. So it's good to see these living examples around me. But it's difficult. It's a difficult mindset to have, that every single living entity deserves kindness. And Srila Prabhupada showed that expertly. So now we're on May 12th, 1976. Hardly a day goes by without Prabhupada engaging us in some discussion on science, and this morning's walk was no exception. Radha Ballabha Das is visiting from Los Angeles, and as we walked along the ocean front, he told Srila Prabhupada how his mother was a nurse. She used to tell him that she had seen many people die, and that it was very nice. It was very peaceful. Your mother is also peaceful? Prabhupada asked him. She's dead, Radha Ballabha replied. He said he had asked her to chant Hare Krishna because she was dying, but she thought she could fight it. She lost the fight. Sukadev Prabhu tried to argue that death is like sleep. So what is the wrong with dying? Why should we be afraid of death? He said that we will simply go to sleep. It will be very comfortable. But after sleep you have to wake up again, Prabhupada countered, and you have to bark like a dog. Give me food, give me food, give me food. Go, go, go. You are awakening like a dog and bark and disturb others. That is your mistake, that you are sleeping forever. But if I am going to wake up again, then why should I want to stop it? I go to sleep, I wake up, Sukadev said. Prabhupada shook his head. You are going to wake up like a dog. And he wasn't talking figuratively. That is the privilege. You sleep for 7 months and then you wake up as a dog. The body is changed. That you do not know. That is ignorance. Die means you sleep as a man and you wake up as a dog. Prabhupada was willing to give the scientists credit for their achievements, but he said, our protest is that they should not try to say there is no God. But even their achievements are questionable. When Sukadev asked what kind of programs we should develop to defeat them, Prabhupada replied, defeat is that you are scientist, I don't want death, please stop it. Ask him. I don't want disease. Please stop it. Then you are scientist. Otherwise, I kick on your face. He said actually they were not scientists because they cannot explain why a dead body does not grow. They cannot understand why a body changes and what makes it change. But when Bhagavad Gita describes how the soul changes body, they will not accept. They are obstinate just like a dog and cannot be reasoned with. The first subject matter for science, he told us, is to understand that there is a soul within the body that gives it life. But the modern scientists have avoided this. Discover this. What is the principle within the body? Real discovery, they are not interested. They are bluffing. They are fools and going on as scientific advancement. He said that as long as they continue with research, they cannot claim to be scientists. Research means they are students, neophytes, but they advertise themselves as scientists and mislead people. And we are protesting this, he said. You cannot solve any major problem, so why you are claiming as scientist? Stop this as a gentleman. There is the soul within the body, and when the soul is gone, transferred to another body, it is dead. One who is actually scientist, he is not surprised. He knows the soul has transferred to another body. That's all. That is scientist. We accept Krishna as scientist because he explains. You cannot explain. How can we accept you as scientist? You are rascal. These discussions are thoroughly enlivening both to us and Srila Prabhupada. Becoming very animated and strong, he immediately gets to the heart of a problem and drives home his points with logic, common sense, and an incisive humor until everyone is convinced. As he says, we are perhaps the only ones in the world who can see through the tremendous bluff that passes for knowledge and education nowadays. And this is all simply by his divine grace. So all these discussions with Srila Prabhupada and his disciples where they're challenging the scientific thought, they're actually very enlivening, even when we read them, to see how brilliantly Srila Prabhupada could defeat anyone with Krishna consciousness. And because he did it in such a humorous way, it brings delight to everyone, and it really drives home the points he's trying to make. The new Chinese Bhagavad Gita arrived from Hong Kong today, along with a letter written by the president of the temple, Sevananda Das. It was also signed by Yashomati Sutta Das, the Chinese translator. The whole book is to be done in 3 parts. These are only the first 6 chapters. The letter expressed his devotional sentiments. One time you said that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur stated that the 2 activities which he appreciated the most were preaching in foreign countries and printing books. You are very expert and enthusiastic to do both, so I felt it would give you great pleasure to know that your Bhagavad Gita as it is now being distributed in the Chinese language for the first time. It is only by pleasing the spiritual master that one can please the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Therefore, it is the very heart of my very soul to serve, glorify, and ultimately please my beloved Guru Maharaj, your divine grace. Ecstatic, Prabhupada wrote to each one of them separately. Awarding Yashomati Sutta Prabhu Brahman initiation, Prabhupada especially praised him for his efforts, describing it a great triumph and very well done. He told him not to be concerned that there may be some difficulty preaching to the Chinese people. If you require money, it will be supplied. And I am informing Guru Kripa Swami and Tamal Krishna Maharaj in this connection. You simply find out the market and push these books amongst the Chinese. He said Krishna had a special role for him. Krishna has designated that you raise them to the higher level. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is to raise them to the higher platform. So Krishna has sent you amongst the Chinese people to save them. So don't be disheartened and go on with the work. You'll get strength. Whatever financial help you require, I shall see that it is provided. As your spiritual master, I have my wholehearted thanks for your service. May Krishna bless you. You have done a great service for being recognized by Krishna, and continue with this work. He also praised Sevananda, a householder from America, who told him to see that the work and told him to see that the work continues, especially by setting an ideal example by going out and distributing the new book as much as he can. Prabhupada regards this new edition of the Gita as so important that he said it will bring about the downfall of communism. He told us that as soon as people understand a little spiritual knowledge, the unrest will increase. This is amazing because when we look at the Chinese yatra now, it's growing so nicely. So many senior devotees are visiting, and that was once a time. There was once a time when, it was very difficult there. Just like Russia, same thing with extremely difficult to preach in Russia. The devotees underwent so much difficulty, being arrested, being put into all kinds of places where they were given like medication to change their psychological state and all of that, to like reprogram them. But they never quit. They never quit this work of preaching Krishna consciousness. And now look at the Russian devotees and the Russian temples and how it's grown there. So the same thing is happening in China. And it's so nice to see this was the beginning, which really pleased Srila Prabhupada, that he actually wrote to each of his disciples separately. With no visitors, the evenings are quiet and Srila Prabhupada has been reading or chanting. But tonight he suddenly decided to play the harmonium. Not wanting to miss such an opportunity, Pushta Krishna Maharaj and I sat behind him to listen. Prabhupada looked over his shoulder at us. I thought he might mind the intrusion, but he said, "So, bring the kole and kartals." We hurriedly brought the instruments and, feeling very privileged, accompanied him as he sang the Dasavatar prayer. We were also able to record it. I really love Srila Prabhupada singing Dasavatar Stotra. Actually, in that video I was watching of the book production, they have Prabhupada singing, this was the Sat Goswami Astakam, but I really love when he sings both of these prayers, actually, the Dasavatar Stotra and Sat Goswami Astakam. It's just something else. It really enlivens me. Prabhupada is translating like anything now. He ran up 290 digits on his dictaphone again during the night. In fact, he is doing so much that Pushta Krishna Swami feels completely overwhelmed. Between doing the mail and transcribing Prabhupada's dictations, he barely has time to leave his typewriter. A few days ago, he asked me to take over responsibility for recording the conversations and lectures, and I gladly complied. Everything we record is sent to Los Angeles and then made available to all the devotees in the movement via the Bhaktivedanta tape ministry. So it is a service I'm very happy to do. So in all of these excerpts we read from Hari Sauri Prabhu's diary, it's just the focus is book production and book distribution. And even sharing the tapes, sharing the lectures, the morning walks, and all recordings. It's all about getting the Vani of Srila Prabhupada out to the world. And it's true that Prabhupada had the vision that his instruction would outlast his physical presence. So he focused so much on emphasizing his instructions through his books, his lectures, his morning walks, and all recordings, and everything was distributed so nicely throughout the society for the upliftment of all the devotees. So I feel very inspired having read this. Also, being involved a little bit in producing books, seeing the video of the previous book production, all I can be is thankful that it is not like that anymore, and thankful for the progression of technology, because I feel like now it's so easy to produce a book. Even though there's always difficulties, it's so much easier than before and what they went through. And it's surprising how few errors there were, despite their process. Like, it was a very difficult process. You'd expect it to be full of errors just because of the time crunch and how long the process was. But it's amazing how the books came out through that production process. So I'll end here, and if there's any comments or any other inspirations anyone wants to share, please do, or questions, anything. Okay. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.